continue, well, the debate in the chat. But Jill, up to you.
Thank you, and hello everybody. I think you all now know that you can put your questions in the chat or use the hand button. So thank you very much for that. And I want to say a really warm welcome to Pauline, and it's good evening to Pauline. Pauline and I are very used to meeting, aren't we? Early mornings for us and late for Pauline. And Pauline Stewart is the Executive Officer of Family Drug Support at Aroa in New Zealand. And Pauline's going to be talking about a service that's gone from local to national agency with a particular emphasis on the 5-step method. So welcome to Pauline.
Thank you very much, Jill, and all the other people who have invited me on to speak today. As Jill has said, I'm the Executive Officer and Founder of Family Drug Support, Aotearoa, New Zealand, which is a nationwide charitable trust established just 3 years ago in Christchurch, based in Christchurch, New Zealand. We have 40 volunteers and the equivalent of 1 full-time equivalent, which is actually 3 people working. I'm a counselling and educational psychologist, and I woke up one morning and decided that there was a huge need for support for families, and so I started Family Drug Support. It wasn't a local service very long, probably about 2 days, because I realised very soon that it was nationwide that there needed to be a service. And I acknowledge brave hearts and the work done with support groups by Erin as well. I'm just going to go through the slides and talk mainly about our service, but mostly about the 5-step method and how we've embedded that in our service. So the services that we offer are
Pauline,
yes?
the papers that you're rattling are next to your microphone, so
right.
You want to try not to rattle so much.
Perfect. So the first service that we offer is a website, which I'd like to be able to just flick onto, but seeing the problems that have been with technology, I won't do that today, but I just acknowledge that there's some amazing resources on the website. Probably 3/4 of the people who access our website are from outside New Zealand. We get a lot of people from the UK, from all Italy, USA, all over the world. When I look at Google Analytics, it's amazing how many people come on. And so many things can be done from the website. There's really good webinars on the likes of methamphetamine, on opioid use. There's a lot of information on resources that are available, and also you can apply for the 5-step method through the website. We also have a support line with trained volunteers on that support line from 9 a.m. in the morning till 10 p.m. every day. And those wonderful volunteers have excellent training to be able to go on that support line. The 5-step method is our flagship program, and I'm going to talk to you about that. We also have Zoom family member support group where people can come on for a support group as well. The 5-step method is I looked all around the world to find out what I thought would be the best program for New Zealand. We're very culturally diverse in New Zealand, and I wanted something that would be very good for Pacifica, for Maori, for Indian, for Asian, for everybody. And I found that the 5-step was actually basically the best program that I could find. So went to Ireland to train there for 3 days and came back and brought it to New Zealand. It's what we found is that when we're selecting the practitioners to be able to do the 5-step program, we make sure that we select people that have counselling skills. They do not have to be counsellors, but they have to have basic counselling skills. And we find this is really important. So some of the people that have done our 5-step training are psychologists, counsellors, nurses, whānau workers who are working in whānau ora, wraparound service with Māori families. So a wide variety of people are being trained, and we think that it's really, really important that people have those counselling skills before they come on. There's 14 hours training over 2 days face-to-face for the initial training, and that initial training is a very important time. We like to do that face-to-face so that we can see what the gaps and what the challenges are for the people who are doing the program, and that informs very much what we're doing in our supervision. The training is, I know in Ireland, the 5-step training has been done on telehealth, and it could definitely be done on telehealth, but for us, we have been doing it face-to-face. So bringing people from all over New Zealand to do that training in Christchurch, and we support them to actually get to Christchurch to do that in the South Island. The training is free to volunteers who contract to work via volunteering with us, working with at least 8 family members per year. Most of them work with a lot more than that, but that's the bottom line for they do need to be working with family members on a regular basis. And there's a small reimbursement for volunteers because they are, as I'll explain to you, working from their own home, mostly to do the 5-step method with family members. We also are starting to have some part-time paid positions as we develop more funding streams, and that has been very, very important because it's reduced our waiting list to practically zero. So that means that if somebody decides today that a family member decides today that they want to do the 5-step program, basically within 1 to 2 weeks, they will be working with an accredited practitioner. Most accredited practitioners have part-time or full-time work in addition to their volunteering. So as you'll see from what I'm saying, quite a lot of the work is done at the time that suits the family member, not at the time that suits the service. And this is very, very important, we found, for family members. We have an accredited practitioners. We also have an accredited trainer and an accredited assessor in the organisation. Most of the work that we do is on a one-to-one basis, although we've found lately that often a couple want to do the 5-step method together, and we have had, say, 3 siblings also do the program together, but most people prefer to do it on a one-to-one basis, and that's what most of our work is. Immediately following the 5-step training, we want the people who are trained to make sure that they start the accreditation process immediately after the training. And the reason for that is that while people have had the training, it's fresh in their mind, and they know they're going to get really high quality supervision while they do the accreditation. So we want them to start straight after they've done the training. There's very high levels of supervision throughout the accreditation. If you look on the AFINet website, you can see the type of supervision that's given to people who are doing the accreditation. But in addition to that, we actually do a lot more supervision. Some people require a lot more supervision. Some of the best people we have on want more supervision. So we provide that through the accreditation process and after. So the accredited assessor and the accredited trainer are within our organisation, and we are starting to train more. We want to do that because we want to build sustainability within our organisation so that we can keep training accredited practitioners and do the assessing and training within the organisation. Continued supervision and professional support post-training. Just as one example, all our accredited practitioners have been offered a seminar from Australia. It's not attached to New Zealand, but from Cracks in the Ice, from one of the really good experts there on sleep and AOD. And that'll be in the next week or so. So they all come on to do that extra supervision and professional development while ever they're working for family drug support. And the information on the AFINet website can help people plan for accreditation. There's amazing videos and information on the website, experts talking about how this is going to, how each step of the 5-step can be, how you can help yourself on those ones as well as a practitioner. So there's just amazing amount of information on there. The clinical practice, for us at Family Drug Support, only accredited practitioners deliver the 5-step program for family drug support, so everybody is accredited. 95% of our 5-step counselling is delivered via telehealth. We were doing it one-to-one before our first COVID lockdown in March, April last year in New Zealand. We straight away put everything on telehealth after I'd written the telehealth Zoom handbook, which is also on the AFINet website. What we found was we found that people absolutely love to do the program through Zoom, and there were a huge number of reasons why they wanted that. When we looked at all the people who were applying to do the 5-step program as family members, we found that they were from all stratas of society, and there was so many people who would not have gone to any service. Many of their family members that had alcohol and other drug misuse were not even in treatment, and this allowed them to get information and to be able to do the 5-step program as a family member and develop coping and resilience. We also found that whether people lived in rural areas, whether they lived in towns, whether they lived in cities, they loved being able to do this, to do the 5-step program through telehealth. They could do it at a time that suited them. They could do it in a place that suited them, so it was safe. And we found that, you know, when you're a school principal, the wife of a school principal, and that person is using methamphetamine, you do not want to be stepping over the doorstep of a service. You want a confidential service. We found quite a few people with disabilities found it really, really useful to be able to do the telehealth, the Zoom 5-step. And for us, we found that many people were so engaged in doing the 5-step by Zoom. They just looked so forward to coming back, generally each week, sometimes 2 weeks between, to do the program. Sometimes we deliver a 6th step if people want that, a follow-up. And I'll go into that in a moment. So I've said the Zoom handbook is on the AFINet website that we've developed. Applicants for the 5-step program self-refer via the phone into our office or the website. A lot of it is mouth to mouth, a word one person to another, especially with Maori families. We've had a lot of Maori family members come on. We have a Maori accredited practitioner and hope to train more very soon. Accredited practitioners reside throughout New Zealand, and the family members reside throughout New Zealand. And what that means is that I can have somebody in Auckland in the north of New Zealand who's working with somebody in the very south of the South Island, and it makes absolutely no difference. So I'm able to match up the practitioners with the family members in a way that probably you can't in many other services find difficult if family members can get a service. The program's
3 minutes left.
How many?
3 minutes.
Oh, goodness me. The program's available from their home. I'll just skip through here. There's a range of ethnicity for the accredited, for the practitioners and for the family members. Generally, the focal person is not in treatment. Part of the information we give to family members is around things like language matters. We never use words like addiction or addicts or clean or any of that language. Language is so critical to recovery. We talk about things like chronic sorrow, motivation to change, concealed stigma, cycle of change, importance of families, etc. You'll see a lot of this on our website. The evaluation of the program, we do a pre-assessment at the beginning of the program through 33 evidence-based questions, which helps us to target the program to the needs of the person that's sitting in front of the accredited practitioner. We do that post at the beginning of the program, at the end of the program, and at 3 months. We've just done extensive analysis, and it's been peer reviewed by Richard and Jill Velleman, especially Richard. And what we found is that there's a 37% reduction in total family burden over just 5 counselling sessions. And thanks also to Ireland, to Fionella, who has just done us an infographic to show the sort of things. 97% of families tell us that the family burden is reduced by these numbers are, 92% less stress, 93% less strain. And what we have found is when we also do an evaluation of the program itself, and family members fill that in, so we actually know what they're thinking about the actual program as well. The cost to run the entire service provided by FDS is $100,000 New Zealand, which is £51,000 English pounds and $70,000 US. It's funded by donations and small grants. And I want to give a real shout out to Richard and Jill Velleman, who have been hugely supportive from the start of FDS. Also to our amazing volunteers and accredited practitioners, of which we've got 10 at present and continue to train more, and support line volunteers 20, and our administrator who's actually on this seminar, and also to the truly wonderful, fantastic family members who share their journeys and gain the support and information which will help them. And at the moment, I've just got 3 family members that I've worked with just recently who are telling me that their family member, the focal person, is now in recovery because of the things that they did on the 5-step program. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Pauline, for that excellent inspirational talk. And I say Pauline is one of our amazing people and the quickest person to become an accredited practitioner, trainer and assessor. Pauline, we have a question from Therese Collins, who was just asking about broadband issues and whether you have any technical issues in New Zealand about running the sessions.
Right. We have been very fortunate in New Zealand that our government has actually focused on improving technical services throughout New Zealand. We are probably in the last 100 family member programs we've done, there'll only have been 2 that have been difficult around broadband, around fibre. And what we've been able to do is to match up on a one-to-one basis with an accredited family member in that area to help those people. So it hasn't, I can honestly say it hasn't been an issue hardly at all.
Oh, that's good to hear. I wish we had such good broadband in the UK. I have a question for you, which was around the sustainability of funding and what tips you have for other organisations across the world to ensure they get enough funds in to continue the service.
Right. From experience, I'm finding that one of the very best ways is to and I haven't been able to talk about this, but to do very in-depth research. So we've done recently 2 lots of big research, 1,000 people in an omnibus survey throughout New Zealand, finding that 40% of family members are impacted by the alcohol or other drug misuse of people they care about. And another one through all of the 8 universities in New Zealand, finding 37% of family members are impacted, 37% of people are impacted, and that was 960 people. Those researchers, those pieces of research help us to be able to go to organisations and start to get funding. And one of our biggest funders at the moment is a huge Māori organisation who see this as very, very supportive for their family members, because it's a whānau or a wraparound service. So I think having really good research about the need for the service is one of the first things.
Great, thanks, Pauline. I think that echoes, doesn't it, of what the other speakers have said,
yes,
about the importance of the research, and lots of people have echoed the same thing. But in terms of getting it into a national strategy, there can remain some issues there. So what would you say about the national strategy for New Zealand?
Yeah, definitely connections, connections through government, connections through the district health boards. At the moment, I'm doing a qualitative study for the district health boards to actually be able to show the need for government funding through the Ministry of Health. So all of those things, making connections, it takes a lot of time, but it's really essential to make those connections. And I think the other thing is you have to have excellent evidence-based, really first-class research to be able to go to organisations to be able to look for funding.
Great, thank you, Pauline, for those tips. I was just checking on the chat, so people have really found your talk really interesting, particularly Chris Ranking from Ireland, who I think was the person that trained you, who said it's very. Who's listening here, saying it's very interesting and about the huge growth for your work since it started, so the rollout. So I don't know, Chris, whether you just want to make a comment and unmute yourself. Chris,
yeah, no, just to say, absolutely fantastic work, and great to see you, Pauline. Yeah, just love hearing you.
Great. Okay, thank you, Chris. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pauline, for that. It's incredibly inspirational what you've done. So thank you very much. So we are back on track, on time. So our next